Well, good morning, friends. Happy Monday morning to you. My name's host Eric, and I host an internet television program called Talking with Famous People. It's kind of a cross between the old Donahue show by Phil Donahue and Judge Judy and the A-Team. That's what Talking with Famous People is mostly. The cross between those three things. Phil Donahue's show, Judge Judy, and the A-Team. Now, let's talk a little bit about Phil Donahue. He was riding so high. He was the top gangster of daytime talk shows. He was doing Oprah before Oprah. He was doing, what's that guy's name by the talk show? He was doing Dr. Phil before Dr. Phil. You know, Phil Donahue. Is he still alive? Now, at some point, you may seek an answer to the provocative question: do you have it? You know, like if you're a show business person and you spot some unknown who is be a future star, then you got to have it. Phil Donahue is still alive. Good. You learn something new every day. Still married to that girl. Who's that girl? No, Winston's mom, I'll tell you what it is. It is a smile that lights up a room. See, I have it. I have a smile that lights up a room. I have it. I'm 22, but I could play 16. That's part of it as well in Hollywood, in the Hollywood show business. The business of putting on shows. So I actually was feeling rather under the weather last night. I wasn't sure what was wrong with me. You have a smile that disappears into a corner. That's not it, Dustin. That's not it. You gotta have a joie de vivre. Who here has joie de vivre? So, I did wake up to a sad reality. I'm going to have to remedy at some point, which is we are out of coffee creamer. I just used the very last of it. It's amazing how much coffee creamer we go through. We go through, I just shit you not, okay? I shit you not. We go through 3 of these things a week. I am not bullshitting you. Rachel and I go through 3 of these big coffee creamer things a week. Empty. That's a lot of coffee creamer, you know? There's a drag queen named Joie de Vivre. It's Joie de Vivre. Well, no, we don't snort the coffee creamer. We just drink it. But would you like to know how they get you? I'll tell you how they get you. you really need to put a lot of coffee creamer in a cup of coffee for it to be properly creamed. So I got a lot of sleep last night, surprisingly, unusually. I got my prescription on Friday. I got a little bit of sleep on Friday night, like 2 or 3 hours. By Saturday evening at like 6 p.m., I felt awful. I'm sorry, by Sunday evening at 6 p.m. So, right. I got it on Friday. No, I got it on Saturday, I guess. Did I get it on Saturday? Or did I get it on Friday? I got it on Saturday. So then I slept a little bit Saturday night. By Sunday evening, even though it was at the beginning of a bottle, I felt like last night like I was just gonna fall over. I still felt so awful. But I got a lot of hours of sleep last night. Like close to 10 or 11 probably. And I got up at like 4 a.m. and I thought, well, that's enough sleep. I could get up now. But I'm going back to bed. I'm glad I did. Sleep's incredibly important. If you don't get enough sleep, you start just losing it. 3DR Nomad, let's do it. It's time for the first bong rip of the day. I weighed myself this morning as well. Who was it that weighed themselves? Angantyr. I weighed myself today as well, but fortunately, my scale doesn't speak nonsense words like kilograms. I didn't really weigh myself. Kilograms. Boy, if there's one thing I hate in the world, it's stupid metric. God, metric's dumb. It's so much smarter than our way of doing things. It's got to be dumb. I just hate metric. Stop trying to tell me how many kilometers I need to travel. Celsius is just the metric of temperature. Celsius is terrible too. I mean, why? If you're gonna measure things stupidly, why not just measure the temperature in Kelvin? How many degrees Kelvin is it right now? Fatal insomnia. I'm pretty sure you can't have fatal insomnia. I'm pretty sure you'd sleep before you die. Have I seen The Walking Dead television? I have not. I haven't watched any of that one. Maybe that one will get on our list of things to watch. Celsius is good because 0 is freezing and 100 is boiling. Angantyr, you and I both need to agree that makes way too much sense. Okay, the proper temperature for boiling is 212 degrees, and for freezing is 32. That makes a lot more sense. Sleeping pills make it worse. So, fatal insomnia is made worse by sleeping pills. I mean, Rachel has something that one could reasonably call fatal insomnia. If she doesn't sleep, and she won't if you don't give her sleeping pills, she goes bonkers. So, I do know that failing to sleep, and I will also agree that Rachel has a form of insomnia that just seems to get to get less and less sleep prone the less she sleeps. Fortunately, there are powerful sleeping pills that can put her to sleep. How come there are no other words for diameter and barometer? Well, there is another word for diameter: the distance across. That's not really one word, though. Here, how about this? Double radius. Double radius is a word for diameter. Barometer. I never understood barometric pressure, really. I just know that the barometer in my butthole is always threatening storms. Double radius. I don't need your stinking diameter. I got double radius. That's twice as good. No, Winston's mom. Fromage is not a synonym of cheese. It's the same word in a different language. That's different. Look at Winston's mom trying to get away with making up synonyms in foreign languages. I don't know how to say that. You're going to get a lot of from me for that one. Boy, let me tell you something. I made a little kind of half-assed video yesterday on ENTP memes where I just got a bunch from them and just did a voiceover talk through as I did it and broke them into 5 categories. Didn't take very long. Air weight's great. It's lighter than flyweight. Anyway, that video's gotten so many likes. It's so well liked and doesn't even have any thumbs downs on it. And that was encouraging. Do I know any strong examples of fictional ISTPs? There's a lot of fictional ISTPs. A lot of male characters are ISTPs. I would say Killua is a fictional ISTP. I would say that. Have you ever seen the movie 500 Days of Summer? By, I don't know what. It's got one of the Deschanels in it. You know how there are those 2 ladies whose last name is Deschanel who are actresses? One of them is Zoe Deschanel and the other one is Manity Man Deschanel. Anyway, in that in that movie, the dude is played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt. He played the kid in Third Rock from the Sun a long time ago. Anyway, he's an ISTP in that movie. The dude in Mission Impossible? I'm not sure who that is. Let me think of other ISTP characters. The character is an ISTP. I don't think the actor is an ISTP. Let me think of more ISTP characters. Because they really are quite common in movies. I don't know if you saw the movie Ford versus Ferrari, but the main driver character, he's an ISTP in that movie. Have I seen Breaking Bad? Yes, I've seen Breaking Bad. I would guess that it's conceivable that the chicken guy is an ISTP. Mike is probably an ISTP. Yeah. Yeah. But like, what's the chicken guy, right? You might think he's got higher FE than that, but he's so singular in it. People do tend to argue ISTJ for ISTP characters or get them confused or have trouble deciding between them. Well, it's like, okay, you know the show Mythbusters? People generally type the mustache guy as INTJ, but I think he's ISTJ. People will often type the Adam Savage guy as ENTP, but I think he's possibly ESFJ. I think they're both sensors. I don't think they're intuitive. The Chinese guy they got to come in and like help them or whatever, he's an intuitive. He's probably an INTP. I think my sister's an ISTP. My mother and I always wondered where was her sense of humor? Are they humorless? They are so humorless. Unless they get drunk, in which case they make horrible jokes. They have no sense of humor at all. Bill Simmons? I don't know who Bill Simmons is. Really? I have no idea what you're talking about, John O'Neill. Thank you. I appreciate it. I have no idea what video you're talking about. My favorite common mistyping that people call ISFPs ENTP. It happens so surprisingly often. I mean, people have strange concepts of type, you know. It's weird. I think it's fair to type Yoda as ISTP, a very old ISTP. If ISTPs could live that long, then they'd get super cool like Yoda. Oh, the Chinese guy? Or Asian, or whatever he was? Grant, that's so sad. He died? It's so unfair. He had like this super cool job and was famous and everything, and he couldn't have been more than like 40 years old at the most, right? How sad is that? Oh. Wow. Who knew? I like that guy. I liked him. A lot better than either of the two original guys. When I type someone, do I take notify the address? No, I don't. I use very few visual cues. I probably should use more, but I'm just not a very visual person, you know? I tell you what gives me some joy. Yoda's not an INTP. What INTP would say? There, do or do not. There is no try. You know, it's like, yeah, there is a try. I am trying and failing. Okay, you're not using language correctly. No, Yoda's an ISTP. I agree, Ethan McDonald, that Yoda's an TI Dom. but he's an ISTP. Laura McGinley. It looks like the Scots are here again. For those of you who were saying it's inadequately Scottish around here, relax. They got here, finally. Just one of them. That's all we need. We don't really need that much Scottishness, you know. If you get like 5 or 6 Scots in a room, it pretty much becomes unbearable. You can't understand anything. They're all like, that's how Scots sound. When you get 5 or 6 Scottish people in a room together and you walk in the room, all you hear is a bunch of like that. I tell you what actor I think is an ISTP in actual life, and he tends to play ISTPs, is Christian Bale. Is that his name? I really like the idea of having a microaggression bingo card. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Yeah, Christian Bale. Yeah, I think that guy's actually an ISTP, and when he acts, he almost always plays the same guy, right? He plays Christian Bale being quiet. The other thing is the idea of a bingo card that's not made out of like bingo numbers, like B17 or whatever. I learned from anime. I learned from Naruto. That's the first time I'd ever heard anybody use the idea of a bingo card that wasn't for bingo. I like the idea a lot that you have a card hunt, but calling it a bingo card is neat. Who let this tricket duck in the house? He's eating all my sweeties. What's a tricket duck? You love The Machinist? I think he's talking about The Machinist at the place where he works. Ever heard of Jeremy Wade? Oh, yeah, I know. I think I have a picture in my mind, actually, of what he looks like. I know, Sean O'Neill. I was joking. It was a little too dry, a joke, perhaps. Is that something Scottish people say? Oh, let this chicken duck in the eye! It all wash my. Is that how Scottish people talk? I think that might be how Scottish people talk. What type is Zuckerberg? I think he's probably in INTP. I didn't know it. I've got it. Oh, is that how they talk? I'm not sure. I don't really know what a Scottish accent sounds like, to be honest. New Year's song is Scottish. They've got cars big as bars, they've got rivers of gold, but the wind gets right through you, no place for the old. I get that. I mean, everybody code switches to some extent, Lauren. I talk differently in certain contexts. There are plenty of times where I make an effort to say things more NI, more simply and more concisely, because you can't just the idea that you should just be yourself, right? let's explore this concept of be yourself. I mean, if I was just being myself all the time, then I guess I would just be talking. I'd talk more fancy than I normally do, I guess. And I normally talk pretty fancy. So I guess the idea of being yourself is complicated when you understand cognitive functions, because you go, okay, well, does that mean be comfortable in my dominant second slot, or does it mean be optimally incorporating my stack, or what? Yeah, Lauren says it's hard to be yourself because there's so many different versions of yourself around different people. Well, at least in my opinion, I'd say it's hard to say to be myself, not because I'm so many different versions around different people, but because who I am shifts a lot according to my mood and stuff like that. It's not really that I'm different around different people, although I do talk a little differently around some different people. Some people I'll speak more simply to than others. But I think I am different with the same person on different occasions sometimes, because my mood has a lot to do with my affect. If I talk like myself, I'll only say the first word of each sentence. You know what I'm saying. I went through a period of time prior to this, or at the beginning of this YouTube channel, may have crossed over or whatever, in which I had a very bad habit of not finishing my sentences. I'd say, and then because you should be able to deduce where the last sentence of the thing was anyway, because of what I had said before. Like, you know where I'm going with this. The fact is, people don't necessarily know, even if it seems obvious. So I kind of got over that habit of not finishing my sentences. Although I still do it sometimes. If I get distracted, I do it. That's different, though. I forget what I was saying because I got distracted by something. I guess what I'm saying is it kind of depends on why you're not finishing your sentences. Sometimes you're not finishing your sentences because you're just being lazy and you just don't want to finish. Sometimes you're not finishing your sentences because that, and you're assuming the other person should be able to finish it for you in their own head as you would for them. And then sometimes it's because you get distracted. I seem a lot happier these days than in old videos. Even there, I was happy too, but I seem more warmth, happiness. I am happier and warmer now, and kinder and gentler. I'm a kinder, gentler than I used to be. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that when I was with Kimberly, especially the last 6 months or so, I mean, it took so much energy to be battling those battles and wrestling with that challenge and carrying the weight of somebody who was bringing a lot of negativity to the party. I'm happy now in large part because I don't have to waste any energy on my relationship, to put it simply. I have a relationship in which both parties want the same thing, which is they want to be able to do their thing, whatever it is, as they feel like it, without a bunch of constraints or expectations. And fortunately, she and I have really similar taste in shit. There's only a couple things that she likes to watch that I don't like to watch, and vice versa. She's not really into Survivor Man, That's something I can watch that I like to watch. She doesn't dislike it, but it's with Les Stroud, my favorite ISTJ, and she's not really into it because it's kind of it's kind of a boy show, I guess. It's about camping out and killing your own food and stuff like that. So she likes to watch Sex in the City. I really can't watch that show. It's like it seems that the show in general totally doesn't. I think watching Sex in the City must be the equivalent of what it was like for women to watch shows in the olden days in which the woman was always there just to be rescued and say, "Oh, my hero," or whatever, right? It's like men have some equivalent purpose as that in the show. The male perspective is just not included at all in this show. And I think like they'll portray this guy who's very cucked by his woman in multiple ways as being perfectly happy being treated like that, and kind of like, see, this is how men should be. And it makes me mad, So I don't like that show, Sex and the City. Well, I mean, the problem with it is it's like Sex in the City was way more popular than Masturbation in the Village. I know a guy, IRL, who comes off eerily similar to 999 Green Eyes. He's an ISTP. For sure, that guy who thought he was an INTP. Did he ever come around to realize that he's not? There was this girl on YouTube who was a perfect example of an ISTP. Originally, her name was Dark Salmon. I don't remember what she changed it to. But she made these very slow 7-minute videos in which she carefully and slowly articulated out single points related to a single theme. And I actually liked her videos. I found them relaxing to watch. Like they were they weren't interesting. Did you see the Endless Curtis's video taking the piss out of C.S. Joseph? No, I haven't. Dio. So, last night I worked with my student. Well, the guy who I consider my student, I worked with his little sister. She's my student too, but her name's Chloe. She's a 6th grader, and she's an ISTP. And we have been doing grammar, which she's at. She gets it, but it's like when for example, I might. This is an example of of an assignment. If you give an ISTP, they have a lot of trouble with. Okay, so I'll say, hey, you understand all these grammar things here now, Chloe. So what I'd like you to do is construct a sentence that uses an infinitive as a subject, has a linking verb, uses a gerund as a predicate noun, and modifies the linking verb with an adverbial prepositional phrase. Okay, go. Now, INTP kid can do that shit no problem. No problem. As long as they understand the things I just said, right? If they know what I mean when I say, write a sentence with an infinitive as a subject, a linking verb as a verb, a gerund as a predicate noun, and an adverbial prepositional phrase modifying the linking verb. Hi, you have it. I'm glad to hear that. Congratulations. Can anybody here do that? if I were to give you that assignment? Does anybody understand grammar well enough to do that? Write a sentence with an infinitive as the subject, a linking verb as the verb, a gerund as a predicate noun, and an adverbial prepositional phrase. So it would be something like, to not get blown out is winning in this instance. That would be a sentence that had an infinitive, to not get blown out, infinitive phrase as the subject, a linking verb is, and then a gerund, winning, as the predicate noun. In this instance, is a prepositional phrase working as an adverb, modifying the linking verb is. Okay, so that would be an example of sentence for the assignment I gave. Anyway, my ENTP kid can do that shit, but my ISTP girl struggles with that a lot because it requires her to come up with shit, right? It's like, well, come up with a sentence that works, that has an infinitive phrase as a subject and a gerund as the predicate noun. That's the tricky thing that requires ideation. It doesn't always work. So like, to hike is invigorating. Well, there, invigorating is the main verb. It's not a predicate noun. Is a helping verb, not a linking verb. So it's harder than it might initially seem to me for people who don't have good extrovert intuition to go through those possibilities like that. And she really struggles with that. I think it's scheduled for 10 a.m. this morning, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so Octavia Silva says, give another example. Okay, so here's a simpler example. Give a sentence where a gerund is the subject. Use any verb phrase you want and have a direct object that's modified by a prepositional phrase. My love running is not correct because I said you have a gerund as the subject, didn't I? A gerund is the subject, any verb phrase you want, and a direct object that's modified by a prepositional phrase. So, for example, running brings happiness of the highest order. That's an example of a sentence with the gerund as the subject, any verb phrase, a direct object, and the direct object is modified by a prepositional phrase. So in other words, it's a prepositional phrase working as an adjective because it's modifying the noun, happiness. Happiness of the highest order. It says which happiness. I mean, the thing is, here's a claim I will say that I will stand behind and not feel any sort of shame about it sounding arrogant. I'm about as good a grammar teacher as there is in the world. And it's because I learned it from somebody who's the best. In part, it's because of that. I mean, the method I use, sentence diagramming, is the best way to teach sentence, to teach grammar. Anyhow, so last night, I after doing a couple of verb sheets are worth doing because they teach you about the tenses, voices, and forms in English. So I'm going to share a couple of things here, actually. So the first thing I worked with her on last night is this, and she's getting this pretty quick. What I want her to be able to do is fill in these verb sheets without referencing another verb sheet. So here's a link to the verb sheet. Now, in this conversation that I'm about to begin, this really I may sort of practice it here. I may practice this video here and then make an actual video in which I reference these various assignments I give her and talk about which one she struggles mightily on and which one she kicks ass on. So this verb sheet she does just fine. It just, I wouldn't say she kicks ass on it, but she's pretty good at it. And what you'll see in the last one, to help her, I added some rules to make it so she could reference those rules, and she used those rules very effectively. But what I would like her to be able to do is to have what I'm working towards. In other words, this is how good teachers think. What would comprise mastery of this? And what would comprise mastery of this is I give her this on the last page here. If you're looking at this document, which most of you are not, but if you were to look at it on the last page of this, there's a blank one on page 5, and I would put at the top, pick up a verb like I usually like to use transitive verbs. To shake, conjugated in the second person singular only. Or plural, whatever. Same thing anyway. Both are singular. So like this verb sheet on the last page is blank now. For me to feel like Chloe had attained mastery of this idea that I want to teach her, she'd be able to fill this in without looking at any other verb sheet. So it would be, she'd write here, active voice intensive form, present tense, you shake. Active voice intensive form, past tense, you shook. Active voice intensive form, future tense, you will shake. Active voice intensive form, present perfect, you have shook. Active voice intensive form, past perfect, you had shook. You will have shook. Then progressive form, you are shaking, you were shaking, you will be shaking, you have been shaking, you had been shaking, you will have been shaking. And then passive voice intensive form, you are shook, you were shook, you will be shook, you have been shook, you had been shook, you will have been shook. Progressive form, you are being shaken. Oh, it's shaken, isn't it? It's not shook. My bad. Present perfect is you have shaken, not you have shook. It's shaken. So this is an irregular verb, which means it's shake, shook, shaken. So passive voice, intensive form, present tense. You are shaken, you were shaken, you will be shaken, you have been shaken, you had been shaken, you will have been shaken. Progressive form, you are being shaken, you were being shaken, you will be being shaken, you have been being shaken, you had been being shaken, and you will have been being shaken. So it's like, I want her to be able to fill, shaken is no longer a word. It's just shook, shook. Okay. Oh, well, there are ones where they have changed like that, where you lose the third thing. Of course, yeah. Anyone's welcome to. Nobody's gonna get any problems from me on any copyright shit, unless they're doing something really like horrible, like taking one of my songs and claiming they wrote it themselves. Then they don't have a problem with it. But yeah, anyone's welcome to use clips of my shit as much as they want for whatever they want. I don't give a fuck. So okay, so there we have an assignment that Chloe's working on right now that she's doing well on. She's almost got down. She's almost able to do it, fill it in without looking at the previous ones. Okay. Now, after we did the verb sheet, and I like the verb sheet not because I want the student to learn to like memorize all the verb conjugations. No, I want the student to learn that there are 6 tenses, 2 forms, and 2 voices, and to be able to, put it together as needed on the spot rather than remember it, So after that, I decided to switch to some other kind of things. The first other thing I gave her was an analogy worksheet, which is pretty easy in general, but which I've experienced plenty of students have trouble with it. So, and I wasn't sure how she was going to do on this because, I like to say that ENTPs are analogical. So if ENTPs are analogical as NE-DOMs, then it would make sense that an ISTP might have trouble with analogies. She had no problem with this worksheet at all. None whatsoever. And I think it's because it requires NI, not NE. And it's not a difficult one. She even got number 6. Number 6 is one that people generally don't get. They get wrong. But she got it right. And at that point, I said, okay, you're great on these. I'm not worried about it. Number 6 says, concrete is the sidewalk as blank is the pancake. What's the answer? Anybody here know? Batter. Batter is the answer. Okay? A lot of people get that wrong for some reason. So Octavia Silva demonstrating that third slot NI has no problems with analogies, even ones that, what do they say? They say plate, something like that, or stove, or pan. Yeah, they say, or they say, I don't know. They I have no idea. Okay, so she had no problem with that. Now, the next thing I gave her, once I determined she didn't have any difficulty with that, because I was doing kind of assessments and seeing where she was on things, right? I gave her this. Now, this one, her answers are actually written here for the first some number of them, so whatever about that. You get to see her answers. But you can see that she had no problem with this. She got a couple, when she got one wrong, she didn't get it wrong again. She didn't get that kind of wrongness wrong again. She got the first only wrong, but after that, she got them all right, Now, these are the sort of things that one might use as conventional TI questions. No Germans enjoy lettuce. Bob is German. Bob does not enjoy lettuce. Valid or invalid? As a TI DOM, no, at no point did Chloe say anything like, but that's not true. Some Germans like lettuce. Okay. That means she's very comfortable with TI, right? People who are less comfortable with TI at some point might say, if people who are especially uncomfortable with TI, might say, but some Germans do like lettuce, because they're not really getting the point of it. So this one I gave her, and she killed it. ISTP, killed it. So I only went down through 15 or no, through, what did I go down through? 21? She did this whole one. Oh yeah, she did the whole one. She was taking a long time to write in valid or invalid. Like she doesn't have very good word processing skills yet because she's a little kid still. But so she told me the answer and I started writing it on number 16. I have another one of these sheets that does not have the answers written down, which I will get for everybody shortly. I had a second one, but I was so convinced by the end of the first one that she had that shit down that I didn't bother with the second one. Oh no, Where is it? I have to upload it still. Open. Upload. Oh no, I only downloaded one of the. I have to get another syllogism sheet. But anyway, so after I gave her the syllogism sheet, I gave her this missing generalizations sheet. And I will share that with you now. Missing generalizations is like this also has some of the answers written in. This only has less than half the answers written in. And she had no problem with this either. She was excellent at this, just like killed it. So it shows you one thing that's significant here, which is if you don't ask ISTPs to come up with anything, they're extremely bright. If you ask them to come up with something, they just drive me insane. When I'm teaching, nothing makes me quite so upset. You want to be motivated to yell at a 5th grade girl or a 6th grade girl. All you got to do is be an ENTP trying to get an ISTP to do any as classwork. It is incredibly frustrating. It's like I do not like yelling at little girls, but I'm just like, Chloe, God damn it! So anyway, she killed it on this missing gens thing. It doesn't have any impact on anything, Octavia Silhouette, and it has a shit ton of impact on everything. How many things do we read that are written through a fundamentally evolutionary frame that assume evolution? How many different things do you read that just provide a basic evolutionary framework for their explanations? Like, well, this is beneficial in some way to the survival of the species, therefore it came into being in that fashion. You see it all the time. It's like super, it's like a virus that everybody has. It's like COVID. It's like HPV. So I gave her these missing gens, and if you look at the missing gens sheet, it asks you to make the thing valid. So Harry must love chocolate cake. He eats it all the time. What makes that valid? The generalization would be all people who frequently eat chocolate cake love chocolate cake. It's kind of an awkward one, but or only chocolate cake lovers eat it all the time would be another way to put that. Jenny jogs every morning. She can't possibly have heart disease. No daily joggers get heart disease makes it valid. Kevin assuredly is an infidel. He doesn't adhere to my religion. All non-adherents are infidels. So you can see these are the ones that she gave the answers to. Although some of them are corrected, they weren't wrong, but they were in an awkward form. Like the first one is her answer. All people who frequently eat chocolate cake love chocolate cake. If it had been my answer, it would have read, only chocolate cake lovers eat it all the time, which is the most elegant answer to it, right? If you go down to number 8, 9, 10 through 20, you'll see those ones haven't been done yet. She didn't get around. We ran out of time at number 7. But again, TI questions that she's just killing it at because it's not asking her to come up with any new ideas, just work with the ideas that are already there and existent in the sentence. So George must enjoy movies. He was born in 1982. All people born in 1982 must enjoy movies. That's not asking her to come up with any new information, right? It's just asking her to process it with TI. Trouble at Fred's house. Uh-oh. Trouble at Fred's house. Octavia Silver, I actually don't think that's an example of any polar. I think that's an example of TI 8 slot, which is balanced. Remember that. In some sense, TI balanced means you recognize the limits and purpose of TI. So Cloud says, if humanity and life overall is a product of spontaneous and chaotic processes, then there's no divine law and harmony in the universe. Well, of course, that's I agree with Octavio Silva on this one. Like those sort of things, that sort of we shouldn't mistake the map for the territory. You know, people experience what they experience and they justify what they justify. Yeah, I know. I wasn't confused, Octavio Silva. You got to admit that you're compelled to find less obvious generalizations for these. That's an any inclination, Dustin Salisbury. My point about the missing generalizations is you can get them wrong. So it says George must enjoy movies. He was born in 1982. All people who enjoy movies were born in 1982 is not correct. That would be invalid. Because even if it's the case that all people who enjoy movies were born in 1982, it doesn't mean everybody born in 1982 enjoys movies. And so that would be invalid. But you could make it more or less elegant. You know, Kelly cannot possibly want any cookies. She doesn't know about the Civil War. You could correctly answer, all people who don't know about the Civil War cannot possibly want any cookies. That would be valid, but an invalid answer would be, all people who don't want cookies don't know about the Civil War. A better answer would be, only Civil War aficionados want cookies. Civil War experts, I guess. Those girls don't study history. They are doomed to repeat it. Only those. All non-historians are doomed to repeat history. It's probably as good as it gets. So, you know, there's one more document I want to share with you, which is, it's called Logic Midterm, but it's really a critical thinking midterm. I did have a logic class, which is an actual logic midterm, but this is not it. But this has some fun questions, and you might enjoy looking at it. When I used to teach critical thinking in middle school, this was the midterm. So yesterday, I wish we'd taken a picture of it. I should have. I don't know why I didn't. I guess maybe because we were in line at McDonald's, it would have been pretty obvious what I was doing. But we saw the craziest car, or the second craziest car I've ever seen. The craziest car I've ever seen, I don't know if you see, I have a picture of it somewhere, I think maybe in the community tab, or if not, maybe I should put it up there. It's this picture of it's this guy who's got a white truck, and on it, he's got like Grim Reapers painted and bullet holes painted onto it, and with big American flags painted and guns all over and shit. It's weird. So it's a weird, like, America, death, gun violence thing. Anyway, this car we saw yesterday definitely is in the running for other weird car. It was purple. It's a purple sports car looking thing. The license plate said excessive, and it had like a big, on the back windshield, it had this big like evil clown face like sticker thing that covered the whole thing, like a see-through sticker that covers the whole back windshield, but it makes it look like an evil clown. And then around the license plate of this purple car with this evil clown, it said at the bottom, "Why so serious?" And I asked Rachel, if we didn't know each other and you were single and you made a date with somebody and they came up and picked you up in this car, what would you do? And she said, well, I'd probably say something about it. Just because FE would require me to comment on it in some fashion. Obviously, if you pull up with such a gaudy look at me car, then you're going to want some sort of comment on it. So I'd probably say, oh, this is an interesting car. But somebody said something about clowns, I think. Maybe you go there. I don't know. Do you have it? What is it? It is a smile that lights up the room. It is a charisma that makes everybody love you all the time. That's what it is. Cloud, you don't have it. Hey, look. Guess what? We have a multiple choice test, everybody. What's Cloud doing? A, attempting to engage intellectually with the ideas. B, making funny jokes. C, enjoying the pleasant company of others. Or D, trying to provoke Eric. Guess what? It's D again. It seems like it's always D. Or it's somebody other than Eric. I don't know. I assume that E stands for Eric. If you got it, flaunt it. If you flaunt it, they gonna want it. If they want it, you gonna give it. And if you give it, they gonna get it. That's the old saying. It's a long saying. Horse Mumbler, very, very interested in your and Utter Self's disagreement about which mix is better. And in fact, I plan to do a video about that a little later today. Very interested. I've listened to both of them a couple of times, but I wasn't feeling well last night. So I couldn't deal with it at all. I felt really sick. And so I went to bed at like 7 o'clock. And if they gonna get it, you got to get it. You get to got it. Right, you get to got it. And if they gonna get it, you get to got it, or else it ain't caught and they won't not it. If you realize anything about functions, you would realize the test don't work. A, B, C, or D? D again. Shocking. Once you're dead, the expression changes to, if you got it, haunt it. If you got it, haunt it. The thing is, there's actually a third version of that I currently have as unlisted, but I could easily enough list. It's an older version still that has more effects on the meatity. Oh, it has more effects on the meatity? Yeah, it does. All right, so this link I just put there is to the original mix of this from the east are blowing, driving on this mountain, which is fairly different than the current one. They cut it down to the wire. Everywhere apocalypse hung heavy, and the truck was firing with ash. And I got the dogs in the Chevy, and Grant canted out their petty cash. It burns all in me, in the revenge. Flames rain down from the sky. While the dogs knock out Fran's exhaust, Lana stays awake to cry. 120 up flame. So Santa Ana's from the east are blowing. I think the new one sounds a lot better than that one. Fire. Grant and Lana had best be going. They had cut it down to the wire. Everywhere apocalypse hung heavy. The truck was covered up in ash. So the thing is that's the newest one, and that's the one that Horsemonger says sounds a lot worse than the one before that. So the one before the newest one is somewhat different. But not really that different. So like this one here, the main difference I can tell. Santa Ana's from the east are blowing, driving on this mountain fire. It's a little more present. Santa had best be going. They had cut it down to the wire. Everywhere apocalypse hung heavy. The truck was covered up in ash. But Lana got the dogs in the Chevy, and Grant counted out that petty cash. If times are ending, then time is men. But I think in general I like the newer one better. So I'm interested in Horsemonger's strong demonstrative and I saying the opposite. The thing is, the older one, well, it shows you that things can be quite, people can have very strong and very different opinions about aesthetics. I like this exercise because it's sort of safe on all grounds. I'm asking people in this instance to compare two different mixes of the same song of mine. So they don't have to have any opinion about whether the song's good or not, just whether or not this mix is better. You know, even if they think both of them are terrible, they might think this is slightly less terrible than this for the following reason. And that's what makes it a good exercise, because it allows people to engage with my music without affirming it and without having to afford me any legitimacy. In fact, they get to have the legitimacy because they're the ones with the knowledge that they're informing me about, you know? Do you think if I were to push that link of yours, Sean Ryan Barron, and have it play through the microphones, that I would get copyrighted? All right, cool. But I mean, is that performance of it, you know? This is you. Turbulence and Transcendence.
Hello, my name is Sean Barron.
Hi, Sean Barron.
Excited and honored to be here as a part of the Dana Alumni Recital Series held in the McDonough Museum of Art at Youngstown State University.
Right off the bat, let me just say, you have got it.
Rhapsodies by Johannes Brahms, Opus 79. The first Rhapsody in B minor is tumultuous and stormy, while the second Rhapsody in G minor depicts a sort of heroic struggle.
You know what I would say, Sean Ryan Barron? I'm going to say both those Rhapsodies are rhapsodic. I think that's probably the best adjective to use for them. I think they're two of the more rhapsodic Rhapsodies that have ever been rhapsodified.
And throughout the course of all three movements, we hear these themes transform and grow into a big, open, glorious sound that really feels as though it has transcended throughout the course of the sonata.
Into something rhapsodic. It started as non-rhapsodic and then it got increasing. You're wearing a mask? I'm going to tell the story of this, okay? See, music tells a story, classical music especially. So right now, homie's just finished a busy day of work, and he's now what? What am I going to do? I'll go get some dinner, get a pint at the local pub, because I'm British. But as I'm walking there, I'm starting to feel troubled, increasingly troubled. Oh wait, what's that over there? It's a parade. It's the Queen. Hey, look, that was fun. There goes the Queen. I'm really feeling good about being English right now. Yeah, it's great. I like being English. I'm really feeling the majesty of being part of this empire right now. You know how we go around and conquer these other countries and stuff? It's great. This is like 17th century, 18th century England. Okay. I'm back to walking again. Finally, I encounter a bunch of like burglars in the park, right? And they're making me like dart around them, trying to get away. I'm still trying to get to the restaurant. Jesus, there's so many people attacking me. Ah, phew, I got there. I would like, please, steak and kidney pie. Oh, this pint is so delicious. Well, sure, you can sit here and join me. My name's Sean Ryan Barron. What's your name? Ernest Hemingway? The Ernest Hemingway? And you love springtime? That's surprising. Would you like to order some food? They have bangers and mash. They are good, aren't they? Oh, is this a Brahms piece? No, it doesn't matter. Oh, you want to start a business together? Ernest Hemingway and me? We could call it Hemingway and Sean's Business for Rich People. This is pretty good. It's a pretty good composition. You're not my favorite. Do you play a second song at some point? All right, let's start here and tell the story, okay? What is the story of this song? So let's set it up ahead of time. The setting is Jenny and Marcus. Okay, those are the two characters. Now, it's it's a Halloween evening, and Marcus is taking Jenny to what supposedly is going to be like a haunted house, but really he's taking her to his old home, okay? His old home where his family all died in a tragic carbon monoxide accident, okay? And he thinks he's going to, sort of move on her. But as he enters the home, he realizes that really what's moving is this experience. Okay, so and I always set up the story. Marcus and Jenny. Well, this is it, Jenny. They say it's haunted. Kind of a romantic place for Halloween. Oh, it is, Marcus. And so scary, too. Are those cobwebs? Yes, they are. I put them there to scare you. You did? No, I'm lying. Anyhow, do you know that I used to live in this home, actually? You did? Yes. Why so sad, then? Why the silence? What happened? Oh, Sean Ryan Barron's changing pages. Ah! Totally different story now. Okay. So this story here, what does this part that we're listening to now tell us? It tells us, all right, so what's happened is there's been a tribe of Indians, Native Americans, who have attacked a settlement in Montana back in the 1850s, okay? Now, Colby, you're going to be the name of the character, okay? Colby is in the story. He's a husband and a father, and he's determined to save his village, and so he's ridden off on his fastest horse, armed with a couple of shotguns and a rifle, and he's gone to chase down some Indians, and he's killed a few of them. And now he's returned back to the village. Okay, let's see what happens. Oh my God! Everything's on fire! But, Jody, my neighbor, I see you here. Dead, filled with arrows, scalped by those horrible Native Americans. Oh, how sad, but, oh, it's your wife. Willis, she's dead too. And your children, the cornfield's on fire. Oh, God, oh, God. But let me look, where's my family? Will my family make it? I'm looking around. Look under this brick. Oh, what's that over there? Oh, my God. Wait. Martha? Junior? Our house is burned down, but you're okay. Oh, I love you, but it's so sad at the same time. They took all our food stores. It's winter's coming. A troll has moved into our river. Oh, is it? Hey, what do you know? All right, that's enough intense classical music. I kind of like more like the classical music that's like do 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 do. Like that kind of classical music. There's this great scene where Beethoven is explaining part of his song or his composition. I guess you don't call them songs. And he says, a guy's on his way to meet his lover, and his carriage is broken down in the mud, and he's trying to get it out of the mud, or he's stuck in the mud, and he's desperate to get it moving, because how long will she wait? When he gets there, will she be gone? And it's from a movie, I'm not exactly sure what the movie's called, but Jeremy, the INTJ, shared with me that scene from that movie, and it was so right. It's just like, that's exactly what that song is saying, you know? Do I like anime? Well, I'm currently watching Hunter x Hunter. I'm on episode 88, Rock, Paper, Scissors, and Weakness. So this is season 5. They are currently ramping up to a big battle with the Chimera ants. I mean, I would also say there's some, like, I like Copland, the American composer. I like what's his name? Gershwin. So, you know, I'm not all about the olden days people necessarily. You know, I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this, but it's a gift to be simple and a gift to be free, a gift to be here where I want to be. I tend to like chopping piano stuff is pretty cool. I like to listen to that. You know, I don't generally like the big dark kind of shit, you know. Like that kind of, and not, no offense to you. You played it beautifully, Sean Reinberg. You're an excellent pianist. I'm just saying that's not really my favorite kind of piano songs. They're so all just play some piano music and make them to make up a story for it. Do I like lo-fi? I tell you what, my one of my favorite jokes on BoJack Horseman is when they're talking about some music. They go, "Oh yeah, that's my favorite too." My next favorite is lo-fi beats to relax or study to. I don't. When somebody calls something lo-fi, it just means they don't know what they're doing, right? Some of my shit sounds kind of lo-fi, and it's because I'm not very skilled. I'm doing a bad job. It's like mumble rap. It's not like that's a thing. That's just not trying very hard and not doing a good job. I know, instead of coming up with words, I'll just sort of scat, make percussive shit, and call it mumble rap. Well, mumble rap is like seat of the pants mechanical engineering. Lo-fi is like contractor using substandard materials. It's not a problem, it's a choice. I mean, is lo-fi simpler? Because look, if you just take a person playing a song on the guitar, for example, that's going to be simple. Yes, Gershwin composed Summertime. He also composed Rhapsody in Blue and American in Paris, which are equally famous. Yeah, that's that song. They used to play it for United Airlines commercials. Lo-fi has a lot of microtonal idiosyncrasies. I mean, I don't get what people are saying about that. So it's like take Michelle Shock's first album. She recorded the whole thing live around a campfire on a Sony Walkman, and it's a great album. But and you might even say it's great in part because of the lack of production. Okay, fine. But the levels are still good, and it has good presence, and to the extent that it has lo-fi qualities, those detract from it. They don't add to it. It might be a good decision to just record a song with 2 mics, live, voice, and guitar. I might be well suited to record my songs like that, but it depends on them. Some of them more than others. Regardless, that doesn't mean it has to be lo-fi. Lo-fi means low fidelity. Fidelity means faithfulness to the actual live sound. So unfaithful to what it actually sounds like is not a good thing. I'm not very familiar with Glenn Gould. I probably would agree with it from how you described it there. You're into low talent, yeah. I mean, there's a place for it. Like, somebody shared that very worst song of all time here one time by this rapper guy. It's like, I'm on the floor or something like that. And it was just so incredibly awful. I had no idea what to do with it. I mean, the thing is, this is an interesting phenomenon with Cloud. I don't know what to think about it. So what are we to make about Cloud's general bombastic, provocative nature and stuff, or his what would appear to be very egotistical claims or egotistical self-concept? There's some school of thought that would say, well, it's only people who actually have little faith in their intelligence who insist on it all the time like that. Or you could say, oh, he's 14. Sean O'Neill's answer may be correct. Or you could say, well, he's an ESFP, and that's the only way they know how to interact in this context, or a lot of possible things, Colby, I very much like country in a lot of different ways, but I don't necessarily listen to a lot of it. But I like, it seems like for me that playing country-ish kind of things on the guitar is my most natural way of being, Like this is the first song I ever wrote that I still play. One of the first songs I ever wrote, period, probably. This is a Parkwood. I picked it up at a yard sale. It's like $100. Well, you can add that effect even, right? You can add LP noise effect if you want to. So anyway, this is maybe the very first song not the very first song I wrote, but the third or fourth, and the first song I wrote that I still play. And it goes like this. It's pretty country, I come from New York City down to 40 IIA. Come from old Chicago to California highway. But I never left the place I loved, 'cause I was out of dough. And I'm 1/2 step from Utah and 2 miles from Idaho. Oh, when you ask me, darling, do I have a trucker's woes? Well, I got to tell you, baby, from my head down to my toes. Drive all night and I drive all day to be home by the end of the week. And I got to tell you, baby, things are looking mighty bleak. Trucker's Woes, it's called. And I still there's a lot of great songs that were written by Willie Nelson, for example, that you don't even think of as Willie Nelson songs. For example, Crazy is a Willie Nelson song by Patsy Cline, and so is Love Songs and Waltzes. It's a great Willie Nelson song. Oh, it's called Sad Songs. I'm writing a song all about you. A true song as real as my tears. But you've no need to fear it, 'cause no one will hear it. Sad songs and waltzes aren't selling this year. I'll tell all about how you cheated. I'd like for the whole world to hear. I'd like to get even with you, 'cause you're leaving. And sad songs and waltzes aren't selling this year. It's a good thing that I'm not a star. You don't know how lucky you are. 'Cause though my record may say it, no one will play it. Sad songs and waltzes aren't selling this year. It's a good thing that I'm not a star. You don't know how lucky you are. 'Cause though my record may say it, no one will play it. 'Cause sad songs and waltzes aren't selling this year. It's a great song, right? It's a beauty. It's a beauty. Okay, let me go over some of the live chat stuff here. Eric, in a proper debate, how is a winner chosen? The individuals debating decide, or judges observing the debate? Judges. And in an important debate round, there's a panel of judges. So for the out rounds of important debate tournaments, there's always a panel of at least 3 judges. Majority wins, and then people talk about a unanimous or split decision. I was part of a 5-judge panel for the final round of Public Forum at Middle School Nationals one year. I kind of lucked into it, like somebody was missing or something. It's this thing that you have to be like 5-diamond coach to be invited to participate in. Like only the best coaches in the country get included on that panel, right? For final round of PF. But in that instance, I managed to get on the panel. And I kind of deserved it in the sense that I was very successful, but I didn't have. You're usually for people who have like had a lot more experience in the field than I did. Like had been there for 10, 20 years or whatever. Anyway, I got on that panel. It was a unanimous decision. I was nervous. It was one of my earlier Nats. I wanted on that panel. I got on that panel. And then I was a little bit scared to be on that panel, you know. I agree, Octavia Silva, your niece has excellent taste in music if she likes my music. If you can't believe in your own music, who else is ever going to believe in it? So it's like one of those things where I have to think I make good music. And at the same time, I have to be dissatisfied with my current ability and performance levels and stuff, you know. Somebody asked how long I've been playing the guitar. Since I was 21. I didn't start playing until I was 21 years old. So you can start as an adult. Prior to that, though, I had been in a boys choir, and I okay, so here's the thing, Octavia Silva. It's very much dependent on your type as to how you want to learn a musical instrument. The main reason why I could not learn piano very well when I was a kid, even though I had piano lessons, was because I was being taught in the wrong fashion. If I were going to teach somebody how to play piano, I would have to determine what their type was first. So for my ENTP kid, I want his parents to let me teach him songwriting. It's easy to teach an ENTP songwriting. You need to break down the limits they built up in their heads. That's all you got to do. You just got to say, look, accept it. You're not in control of where these ideas come from. It doesn't mean you have to reject them. Don't try to seize control of the ideas. That's the key thing you got to say. But for an ISFP, I mean, here's the deal. If you want to learn how to play, you have to decide what you want to learn how to do. You can either learn how to play covers, songs, sing and play at the same time, or you can try to learn to be a guitarist that is just a guitarist that doesn't sing. I'm very much a person who wants to sing and play at the same time. So the answer to how to learn to play the guitar, then, if you want to play covers, is find some very simple covers you can play first. And there are, plenty of simple covers you can play. How about as an INTP? Well, INTPs probably need to take more of an ENTP approach. So it's like, yeah, I'll play it in a second. If I were to talk to an NTP about how to play music, I'd say, well, start by making a song that just has like that, This is the kind of thing an NTP should do at first. It will make them feel as though they have some sort of musical worth. They don't want to learn techniques. They don't want to learn your scales. They just need to be liberated from musical jails. 'Cause there's lots of people who would tell you this is not the way to learn an instrument on any given day. But I would disagree, because I'm contrary, that this is what you need to do as an INTP. Come up with some parts of the idea, and then, record yourself, find a part of that idea that you like and you actually want to keep, and then change the next part that you didn't like. There's something that works better. And yeah. Really, NTPs should be taught to play music by learning to make their own music, because they are, generative in that regard. Like INFJs have, it seems to me, a basic advantage, which is like they get rhythm. They get that rhythm is king, and rhythm is king. You don't need to do a lot to have a great song. I really love this They Might Be Giants song, that the whole first part is just one note. I met someone at the dog show. She was holding my left arm, but everyone was acting normal, so I tried to look nonchalant. We both said, I really love you. The Shriners loaned us cars. We raced up and down the sidewalk 20,000 million times. Then it changes. But the whole first part of it, right, is just A. You just play it. You didn't even play open A even. I met someone at the dog show. Let's see. The circle, I think, is that it annoys me to learn existing songs. I feel like I need to understand the ins and outs before I can do anything, and that learning a specific song doesn't help with that. It's interesting, Octavia. So you're saying you want to have a top-down understanding. You never really get a top-down understanding of music. It's not really possible. So it's like music is too magical. It's too, there's no getting around it. When I was younger, it seemed that everything gleamed. I don't know what happened to me, but I've lost that sense of urgency, and I don't think that I'll ever see it again. If you follow my lead, you'll discover I'm loster than you. And you'll want to know the way to get back at you, wherever it was you thought you knew. And tomorrow will be just like today. I'll be lost then too. It's a matter of mood as much as a matter of will, and things I do and the direction I point to still seem a part of me, though departedly. And I wonder if I'll ever see them again. Bum-ba-dum-da, ba-dum-da-da-da, bum-ba-da-da, bum-ba-doo. Bum-ba-da-da, ba-dum-da-da-da, bum-ba-da-da, doo-da-doo. Thanks. And it's like a very simple song, right? That's the thing. Here's the thing, 3DR Nomad. It doesn't necessarily come naturally with me. A lot of times I have to fight hard with something to get it to come together. But when I don't, it tends to come out better. Like that song just sort of came out as it was without me having to mess with it at all. But this song, which is equally intuitive, was a lot of work. Every life lived reaches a time when the road splits in two. There are times, dark times, times of despair, times when it's hard to feel good. That's when I look for my sack full of solvency and that satchel of helpful goods. Satchel of helpful goods. Satchel of helpful goods. Satchel of helpful goods. I think one thing that helps with that process, though, 3DR Nomad, is freestyling stuff. If you get in the habit of freestyling stuff, if you have any in one or two, it should be plausible, at least. It compels you to release your any grip on your NI. What prevents any people from making good music when they are prevented from doing so is that they want to know how they got there. It's like, I want to decide what I'm melodizing. That's the wrong way to do it, is the problem. You got to just let it happen. So Corey, my INFJ friend, many years ago told me something that was the most powerful thing I'd ever heard, which was those bits of melody and those little parts of songs and stuff you come up with that sound familiar, but you can't figure out what it is exactly. Those are the things you keep. You don't get rid of them because they sound too familiar, which is what I had been doing previously. Bye, Levi. So, like one of the best ways to do songwriting is to freestyle a thing for a stretch of time and then listen back and pull out one piece that sounds good, one little idea that sounds good, and build off of that until you get sufficient ideas, That's like the sort of rhythm I can't play and sing at the same time, frustratingly. Like this too. Like that thing right there, right? I have a song that goes over it, but I can't sing and play at the same time. You're mine if you want it. I'm yours if I want that too. I want to be wanted. I am. I'm helping him. Just chill out. There you go, utter self. Use your voice. Use your voice to talk to me. Utter self was once just a self, but he badly needed milk. Tried going to the store, but they were out, had no more, and so he went into the cow itself. He liked so much that lovely utter, he named himself Utter Self, because a dog peed in his coffee and ran away with all of his wealth. Hi, Utter Self. I found your argument with Horseman very interesting, by the way, and I'm planning on making a video about that later. But you first tell me about your problems. What's going on with you?
My problems. Okay, those are multiple. First and foremost, I have to address this. You did mention that you felt like your music production, your sort of sound production lacked a certain professional quality.
Yeah, true. True that.
Which is something I dealt with a couple of years ago. And I mean, it's something that obviously takes a lot of detail, takes a lot of experience and practice and knowledge and blah 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 blah.
And even when you have a lot of practice and experience, you still don't necessarily get that good at it. Like I've done it a shit ton, but I'm still not very good at it.
Yeah, but it also takes practicing things that you haven't practiced before. Like,
true that.
Like making a habit of trying new things and stuff.
I actually don't think that's my shortcoming. It's more likely that I should. There's probably specific things I should do that I'm not doing, but trying random shit, I'm pretty good at that. It's okay. Doing the right things that's the problem.
As for the specific right things that could be tried, pretty much in every genre of music, pretty much in every aesthetic, there is one sort of universal little trick that people use to make their vocals sound better, which is using a little reverb, small amount.
Yeah.
Not something crazy.
Do you think I used too
bit.
much when I put up the new version where I had some reverb on the boards? I did just put a little bit. Do you think I used too much?
I don't know what kind of reverb plugin you were using, but there has to be a few settings in there.
I used the gentlest vocal setting.
Oh, I don't know about enough. I mean, it's super subjective. But you did ask if it was better, and it was.
I agree with you. I disagree with Horse Mumbler on this point. I think the mix with a little bit of reverb on the vocal, I think a little bit of reverb on the vocals helped a lot. But I also think it reduces the presence of the vocals a little bit. I think maybe that's what Horse Mumbler is picking up on. But to me, I think the newest version sounds pretty good. What else do you think needs to be done to it?
I'll address that in a minute.
First, get to your problem. I don't know why we got sidetracked right off the bat. What's going on with you? A cat peed in your coffee is what somebody suggested.
Yeah, they're quoting me. Wasn't honestly not my proudest moment. That's the thing. I get a little too fired up in the comment section there. I wasn't sure myself. Like I actually had to stop. I had to ask myself, like, why am I getting so involved in this? Yeah, I'm getting involved in this first and foremost because Horse Mumbler has produced a very unique combination of being wrong and being an asshole. It's a very interesting combination here. It's I don't think this kind of combination has appeared in the history of humankind before. Here's why. There is an FD element to it, and there is a TI element to it. I'm going to start with the FD side. That's of course that comes from my personal experience. I've been around a lot of online communities that deal with music production. A bunch of people who are, trying to figure it out. The common etiquette there usually is you don't go and just shit on someone's work, especially if it's work in progress, especially if a person is asking for feedback.
All right, so let me interrupt here. I was specifically asking for feedback about mix and mastering, and he was specifically giving feedback saying the previous mix was better than this one. So I have to say he gets full. I take no FE points away from him. He was giving me what I asked for, so I have nothing to complain about.
Hang on a second.
Okay, go ahead.
Another thing is usually in those communities, I'm not saying that this is a music production community, but in those communities, it's usually common to not just say like, this sucks, but to actually try to explain which part of it sucks and why it sucks. And ideally, like, how would one try to fix it?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying like a commenter should provide like some kind of, I don't know, some kind of universal solution to the stranger's problems, but I am saying that as opposed to saying this sounds terrible and I don't know why, you could probably go and try to explain this. Here's the part that sounds terrible.
Let me clarify
Here's the part that doesn't.
Let me get myself clear on something. So were you saying the thing that you were upset about that you wanted to talk about is in fact this thing that we're talking about?
Oh no.
Okay,
no,
so what were you upset about?
What I'm upset about is that's the FE part is sort of less important. The TI part. I did say that it added adding reverb to the vocal added some dimension. To which Horse Mumbler replied that no, as a matter of fact, it didn't. On the contrary, that is how Horse Mumbler sounds in my head now. By the way, so that's that's another thing. He did say that on the contrary, it took away from the dimension. What is reverb?
I think he means presence.
Well, I mean, what he means and what he said specifically may be two different things.
Okay. I mean, I'm not sure what you mean by dimension. I'm not sure what either of you would mean by dimensionality there. It adds some dimension.
The thing about reverb is, as opposed to like a flat recorded vocal, the vocal with reverb literally creates an effect of a room.
Right.
A big room, a small room, some kind of room.
Mm-hmm.
So it actually creates a sort of illusion of physical space, which adds a lot, actually,
Okay.
to the vocals. It kind of makes it, I don't know. Well, it adds information to it.
I mean, see, what I think it did is it made them fit in better. It made them fit with everything else better. So it's like putting a little bit of reverb on the vocals. All of a sudden, there weren't those spots where it was where it like struck the ear and listener fatigue areas as much. So there wasn't as much dynamics to it, basically, and not as much presence to it. So it sat more comfortably with the rest of the shit, and it makes the whole thing sound a lot better, less amateurish in the sense that there are fewer elements that are jarring against each other.
Yeah, and also reverb actually hides like small, tiny imperfections. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah. And I was the thing that I did, and this kind of goes to your point about me not trying enough random shit, is I actually looked up the reverb I used on the Audacity wiki and realized that there were factory presets for the first time yesterday. I never knew there were factory presets.
Nice.
I would just try different shit on it. See, so that kind of works against you, what you're saying though too. It's like I didn't try the right thing, which is, hey, maybe there are factory presets. I just tried a bunch of random shit until I'd be at okay-ish with the way it sounded. So
I mean, not to sound like a connoisseur of some kind, but yeah, factory presets is something you should try first, and then like
they weren't obvious.
Sort of move away
it wasn't obvious in the plugin that it had them. You have to push manage. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wait,
yeah, but
you learn something new every day.
Essentially, music production comes down to doing a bunch of like sort of extroverted thinking shit until you get an introverted thinking understanding of some certain principles. And that's another thing. I actually really like you as a musician, and I like you as a lyricist, but I don't particularly like you as a music producer sometimes, because sometimes you make bold choices.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's like I would love for it to be the 1960s, and for me to be one of those select few who actually got to be produced by people, But it's unfortunately the 2020s, and nobody gets produced by anybody anymore. Everybody's got to do everything themselves.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful time because you could sort of get away with making a lot of mistakes if you're this sort of bedroom musician. You got to be experimental. I think a lot of things from 60s and 70s, a lot of techniques, they sort of came off from people having no fucking clue what they were doing, but still like sort of just playing with stuff.
Right. I mean,
Well,
obviously, we have a lot of
Mhm.
valuable tools that they didn't used to have. I use the spectrum analysis all the time. I'm trying to figure out whether it's EQ'd properly and shit. Because I don't trust any of my speakers. I don't have the TV speakers. I don't trust. I've got shitty little headphones. I need to get a good pair of headphones because that's the only way I'm really going to be able to trust my ears on EQing. I trust the car speakers more than any of my other speakers, frankly, that I have available.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's just something I got to deal with. But fortunately they do have in modern recording stuff. They've got spectrum analysis tools that allow you to look at where oh shit, it's all. I got so much. I always end up with like this huge spike at like 230 to 300. Just this big mud pile right there. So
Yeah.
let me go back to the stream, see what people are saying in the chat. The tricks with mixing vocals is to double the vocal track, put reverb on one with a high pass, and leave the second dry and mono in the center. That's I see. Okay, so you're not saying record two vocals. You're saying double one track and put reverb on one. Your second dry and mono. I'll try that. That's a good TE suggestion. It's very specific. I appreciate it. The thing is, I typically stereo mic everything. Running Fox says the vocals are better in the second video. Utter Self is some FE user. Are you an INFJ, Utter Self?
No.
Are you an INTP?
Almost.
ENTP?
Yes.
Okay. You're Scandinavian?
No. I'm Russian.
Russian.
But I do live in Finland.
Finland. Okay. So, right. This is what a Finnish ENTP looks like, or Scandinavian ENTP in general looks like. They're not nearly as they typically aren't ass wipes like me for the rest of it, of American ENTPs. American ENTPs do tend to be ass wipes more than probably other ENTPs because I don't know. It seems like Europe is so much more FENI than America is. You have any thoughts about that, Utter Self?
Well, look. I mean, I get where you're coming from. I get that for you Americans, we're just one big Europe. Some parts. Some parts are more FE and I heavy, I'd say. At the same time, you get places like, I don't know, Poland.
Yeah, what's that place like?
Look, I'm biased. I'm Russian. They don't like Russians in Poland too much. They're also very I mean, they're Slavic people. They're essentially I identify with them as my Slavic brothers. But I had some mixed experience. I had some strange experiences with Polish people. Sometimes absolutely amazing, sometimes absolutely terrible. Never something in the middle.
Okay, I have a question about Poland. Is there an ongoing crisis with light bulbs being unreplaced?
No, I have no idea about that.
Well, because from what I understand, the Poles have a great deal of difficulty screwing in a light bulb. It takes multiple of them. And even then, frequently they're unable to replace it. It depends. It depends on who you ask, but it's never just one. I'm not sure why.
Interesting.
It's a very dark country. Nobody can. The art of light bulb replacement has never reached the Poles. Colby Megara, are you an ENTJ? You're a force of nature, a natural energy, and a leader. Tell me about your shoes. What kind of shoes are you wearing, Utter Self?
I'm not wearing any actually
You're
right
not
now.
wearing any
That's my
shoes.
secret.
That's
I go bare.
incredibly rebellious of you. Here's my shoes. Oh yeah,
Oh, that's an interesting choice.
those are some nice shoes, huh? They're kind of these ones are on their last legs. These are some pretty old flip flops. Like this part up here has gotten very thin. It's like it doesn't provide much cushion anymore. It's worn down so much. But the problem is I always break flip flops. You either rip this thing out, right? So it's like this gets ripped out of here, or now this we won't have it on these ones, but sometimes depending on how it's made, you'll break one of the side things here. I go through a lot of flip flops because I mostly wear flip flops all the time.
I mean, those look battle scarred. I liked it.
Unless I'm going hiking or outdoors kind of activity or something, in which case I'll wear my hiking boots. If I'm not doing an outdoors activity that involves walking across non-paved areas, then I'm going flip-flops. Occasionally, if it's super cold, I'll put socks on.
What kind of socks do you usually put on?
Whichever socks I grab out of the box. I've got mostly white socks, but I've got some black socks, some other color socks too. I try to get it sort of matching. If I'm having trouble getting it to match, if I can't find two of the same socks, then yeah, I just go like that. Just fuck it. I've looked long enough for two of the same socks. For the very small amount of FE care that I have about that, just fuck it. I just put on these two. This is brown. This is black. Same thing. Close enough. You're not even close. There's nobody's going to mistake those two socks as being the same.
No, I mean at this point I pretty much committed. Like if I can't be bothered to pick my socks, I may as well make the worst matches. Just make it part of my character.
Because here's the thing: you take all your clothes out of the dryer, right? Now you have a choice at this moment. Are you going to pair up your socks before you put them away? Or are you going to just put all your socks into a box? Now, option one sounds like a pain in the ass. Option two sounds like a lot less of a pain in the ass. So every time I would always go option two.
I used to go option one. I used to sort of bully myself into being more orderly. I don't think that works for me, man. I found that I'd rather do the option two. I'd rather be honest with myself about being a little shitty about this.
That's tough, though.
And I'd rather catch this sort of right balance between feeling guilty about being a piece of shit about this, but also being unapologetic about being a piece of shit about this. Wait. I don't separate my socks. I'm proud of it. Sue me. I don't care.
Well, here's the thing. The problem is this. It is true that certain things in life you need to be TE about in order for life to move smoothly. And it's also true that certain things in life you don't really need to be TE about, and things will still move smoothly. The problem is, to know the difference, you need NI, which is the thing that we're constantly ignoring. So, for example, let's say that there's let's think of a good example of this. It's like there's something you have to work around, or for example, like in an audio editing program, I've been meaning to for quite some time now to add a keyboard shortcut for one of the effects. I don't remember what it is at the moment, but every time I go to use that effect, I have to go to the list and pick it because I haven't added the keyboard shortcut yet. And every time I do that, I think to myself, I need to add that keyboard shortcut. But this time I'll just do it this way. Right? So that is an example of NI ignoring about TE, which is the problem here, Eric, is you are going to eventually do it. And until you do, every time until you do, you are wasting time doing it this inefficient way that bugs you. And you're going to re-experience this multiple times until you finally fix that fucking thing and put the keyboard shortcut, and then you won't have to worry about it anymore. So NI ignoring is what's preventing me from doing that yet, you know? The NI would say, obviously, do that now.
That honestly sounds painfully familiar. But yeah, so is there like a solution for this? I'm starting to think there isn't.
No, but I tell you what's kind of a solution is people like you and me talking to each other. Like you telling me, just go ahead and add a little bit of reverb to it, Eric. Yes, you're going to lose a little bit of presence, but ultimately it's going to sound better. And it's a heuristic I can take away. And in the process of talking to you about it, I learned, this reverb has factory presets on it. It's like shit like that helps, right? We're talking to each other in a non-adversarial way about something that I think everybody, no matter how good they are at it, finds difficult and mysterious. Namely, how do you go from nothing to making a genius, timeless track that sounds perfect and everyone will listen to forever? That's a mysterious art indeed.
It is. It's weird. I think it has to start with at least some degree of intentionality, because I used to approach music production from like I tried approaching it from a more sort of emotional side of things, like I'm trying to express my feelings. Didn't fucking work because I'm bipolar. I have no idea what my feelings are. Then I tried to get some intentionality out of just sort of a more like any side, where I would literally download like 30 samples of farm animal sounds, and I would set my mind to creating a track that involves at least 10 farm animal sounds or something. And it would be like kind of random and kind of silly, but mostly it's just not enough intentionality there.
When you say intentionality, I think what you mean is planning, right? You're basically saying having a plan or a vision ahead of time.
In part, yes, but also intentionality in this sort of like very right brain sense, whereas you're trying to express something and not trying to just sort of like, I don't know, just produce something, whatever, but
right.
Rather trying to basically you're I guess I'm talking about NI. Really.
Yeah, well, exactly. So, and the thing about it is, if you have a simple enough NI idea and you execute it well, it can be very successful without a lot of effort, as is indicated by video making sometimes. So the video that I made yesterday, where it's like 5 categories of EHP memes, it only ended up being 7 minutes long. What I did was I gathered a bunch of those pictures, those memes, and I dropped them into the app. I set them each at 10 seconds. I put in a picture saying, category 1, category. I split them into categories and put a picture in between indicating the change of category now. And then I just recorded myself. The app has a thing where you can say, add voiceover to this. So I just did that and just talked over it and was constrained automatically by the 10-second thing. So I had to move on quickly. I could only say this so much. Did one take of it, uploaded it, and it came out to be a video that I suspect is going to do quite well, because I find it so easy. It moves so quickly through things. I find it difficult to not watch the whole thing, which is, of course, what YouTube is looking for, is percentage of watch time, basically. Watching the whole thing is what they like, and watching a little bit of it is what they don't like. So I think it's going to be very successful. And why? It's only just because it has a simple NI idea, and I allowed my laziness to constrain my NE by time in that fashion, sort of incidentally. It's a great strategy. Will I do that again? I hope so, but who knows?
I mean, you can turn it into a format.
I could just do that every time. It'd be very simple. I could do I could do 16 of those at least by doing the memes on every one of the 16 types.
Hmm.
But I don't know. Will I do it? Who knows?
Yeah, the will I do it? Who knows part is.
I'm note that I'm not doing it right now. I'm chatting with you about music production. And of course, I don't know if this is true for everybody. I suspect it's true for NTPs in general, but it may be true for everybody, that the thing that you have the most talent at, that you're most likely to succeed at, is there's going to be something that you're less talented and less naturally able at that you want to succeed at more. So it's like I more want to succeed at music than I do at, say, writing nonfiction or fiction or poetry or whatever. I expect I would be better at the writing. I know I am. Like being a debate coach. I know I'm a better debate coach than I am a music producer. But I much more care about producing music, right?
Yeah.
Is it always?
And it's also probably
always go like
more.
That?
It's also in a way probably more rewarding since you do have more like room for improvement in music. Therefore, powering through that room for improvement is probably a lot more rewarding. You get to actually learn and accomplish a lot more in a like shorter amount of time, just because there is so much ahead that you can still learn and do.
Tom
Jurgelson.
Tom Jurgelson makes a good point though here too. He says music is like an abusive partner that you keep going back to. It does tend to make you feel bad about yourself as much as it makes you feel good about yourself if you want to interact with it like that.
Yep.
I think one thing that's been important for me to avoid that quality of it somewhat is to be comparing always my stuff against my other stuff. Because it's definitely the case that some of my stuff is better than some of my other stuff. So as long as I stay in that relative frame and never have it compare absolutely against outside stuff, it's safe to say, hey, I'm really happy with this one because it's so much better than my shitty stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's also something that I used to do is I used to really sweat details when it came to music production, like to a sort of a painful degree where you're absolutely unsure what you're doing and you're just trying to ask someone, like, did I make it better? Did I make it worse? I don't understand. Something is missing and I don't know what. I think I quoted Rakim the other day. Don't sweat the technique. It's a little less about trying to make it absolutely perfect and a little more about, just trying to get something out of it, some kind of fun, some kind of experience.
Well, there is an element of like capturing that take, right? So it's like sometimes I can't recall the song exactly right now, but I remember there was one song that I was having a lot of trouble getting a guitar take that I was happy with, and then like a new prescription came in and I was all thwacked out, and I just fucking was like, I just killed it all the way through, and you can just hear it. You can hear it after, you can hear it in the recording that, oh my god, like the guitarist is killing it. It's weird because it wasn't about taking the time to set up all the mics perfectly. It was about the performance, and they might end up capturing that, So there's that quality too. However, it's not a sort of thing you can really rely on, or it's challenging. I appreciate what you're doing here effectively, though, is giving me permission to not get bogged down in a bunch of technical detail all the time, which I appreciate. I think people need permission in a lot of ways in life from other people.
Yeah. I mean, there was a time I could kind of use some of that permission as well.
Right.
So, I mean,
like in relationships,
I can relate.
For example, in relationships, people often go to a relationship counselor because one or both of them want permission to break up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird.
Mm-hmm. I think it's natural. Everybody feels safer when they have the right narrative, and when it comes from somebody else, they go, okay, it's I can embrace it without having to create it. It sort of has a little bit more independent validity or something.
Mm. Yeah, or at least some sort of like certainty. Like even if you aren't sure if you're like being right or wrong about the thing, you'd rather probably hear that you are absolutely wrong and terrible than hear absolutely nothing about it.
Yeah, I mean, being completely ignored is the worst phenomenon, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mean like being ignored, more like having a specific uncertain point which you're trying to figure out, which you cannot figure out, and then you go like start asking for someone's validation or someone's opinion on the thing, and not being completely ignored, but rather having that specific one part that you're trying to figure out being ignored. Like you're not being like shunned away. You're not like people are not closing their eyes and trying not to look at you. They kind of go like, yeah, it's a thing. You'll figure it out.
It's like when COVID started, right? And I said,
yeah,
but guys, look at these stats. They're saying it's 4%, but they're only testing the sickest people. It's got to be at highest a tenth of that. And in fact, it's even lower than that, it's turned out to be. And everyone was like, well, I have no answer to that, but it doesn't change anything. And it was baffling. It was like, but isn't that kind of determinant here?
Yeah.
But
we don't know what to do, but we have to do something.
Right.
Fuck that.
Right. That's, yeah. There was something I wanted to say that I'm going to try to remember what it was.
If you want, I can give you a moment to remember it. Meanwhile, there is one more piece of solvency that I'm looking for.
I'll go for it.
I mentioned a musical collab to you yesterday. You said, yes, let's talk about it. Here's when, here's where. Were you there?
Did I say I was going to do that yesterday and I didn't show up?
Yeah.
Okay, my bad. I genuinely, listen, this is the thing. I started this video talking about this too. I shit you not. I actually got sick last night. Like around 6 p.m., I started feeling really sick. I don't know what time I said it was going to be there, but I'm sorry I skipped it. I totally missed out on it. I didn't put it on my calendar. I fucked up. My bad. Let's do it.
It's all right.
I want to end this live stream. Are you available now?
Yeah.
Okay, I can end this live stream. We'll work right now. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks for being here. Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese.